Hello and welcome to Tommy Surfs. I'm Tommy, and this video is a review of the Firewire Glazer by Rob Machado. This particular board is 5'3", 19 5/8 wide, 2 7/16 thick, coming in at 28.7 liters, and I'm 5'8", weighing 145. So the Glazer is the latest in an evolution of boards by Rob that moves toward performance while trying to maintain the fun factors of the previous generation. Starting with the Go Fish on the top of your screen, you will notice he slimmed the nose slightly and pulled in the tail and gave the Seaside a more modern swallowtail. So all those factors improved performance. However, if you look at the board, you can obviously tell that they all share the same DNA. So it's not hard to tell that the Seaside is an offspring of the Go Fish. Now, if the Seaside decided to have a baby with the Dominator, I believe the offspring would be the Glazer. The tail is changed from a swallow to a round tail, but outside of the fact that the board is narrower, you could tell that they're very similar. So here's my crude attempt at trying to overlay the Glazer on the Seaside to kind of show you that they share the same outline, basically a wide point front from center, and that gives you more foam under the chest and helps with paddling. But it's also why I think the board is so fun. If you took the board and you actually finished it, it's really, surfing a 5'3" is probably more like surfing a 5'8". But all the concentration of foam is under your front foot, and that needless foam, the swing weight, is kind of eliminated, which makes the board a little bit more agile. Now, one thing that I found interesting was that the Go Fish is actually the smallest in volume of the three boards, even though they're exactly the same height. The Seaside then comes in almost a liter more, and then the Glazer is actually a half a liter bigger than the Seaside. One last interesting point is that the Glazer has very little tail rocker, less than the Seaside, and I haven't measured it, but it almost seems like it has less than the Go Fish. Now, in terms of the bottom, it basically is a giant single concave that runs almost throughout the entire board. And then more towards the middle, it's a double. And then more towards the back, it's basically a double with a spine. So it's almost like they're two separate singles. Having this type of bottom allows you to funnel all your water to the fins, which then helps with speed. So I love boards with heavy concaves, single, doubles, doesn't matter. One, it flattens out the rocker even more, so making it a flatter, faster board. But two, it gets water to your fins. And three, when you press downwards on a board, it literally pushes and squirts water out the back. So now let's look at some waves, and I'm showing you my fin setup in this first section. So these are the waves that are in the intro, and rather than just the highlights, I put the entire wave in so you can see how I end it, start it, etc. So my first wave, it felt kind of off, but first time ever standing up on a board. The second wave, the beginning felt odd, but the maneuver went off okay. So one thing I'm finding out about a lot of different boards, whether it's the Dominator, the Modern 2, all the boards that I try, the maneuvers themselves seem okay, because if I can get to that point, I have enough speed. But I think what's really important is the before and after. So here, right when I got up, you saw me bog. And as I started gaining momentum and speed, you can do the maneuver because you have that speed. But it's that initial jetting of the board that I wasn't getting, and I bogged again. And as I do this turn, same thing. I felt like I was bogging, and granted I didn't have a lot of speed, but on the Seaside I'm able to pull that. Now on this wave, I kind of figure out what was happening. I had a really good hard cut back, And as I paid attention to that, I realized my foot on that last turn was further up. So now on the Seaside, I surf the tail. Far back as it'll go right up against the kick pad, which is actually like I have the traction pad over the leash plug on my Seaside. So on this board, I was trying to surf it the same with my foot all the way back, but it wasn't working on this particular board. So as I learned, I started to shift my foot forward. And if you actually pay attention, you'll notice that I surf the front of the tail pad now, except for backhand. Backhand seems to work better because you're on your heel side. You can press on your board a little bit harder and hold. So one thing I will say is that I do love this board backhand. It's very responsive as a 2+1. So now going back to my point on the front side, if you'll look, I'm surfing the very front of my tail pad. So that's about the only way I could get the drive and that I normally am used to on the Seaside. And on that particular wave, I thought there was going to be a lip, but then the wave flattened out. So here I've made my adjustments. I'm kind of figuring out, okay, I need to stand forward. A really important point I need to make is that if you are, let's say my height, and you buy this board as a 5'8", so 5 inches longer, none of what I'm saying will probably apply. It all depends on your skill level as well as where you stand on your board, etc. Now, on a longer board, people tend to surf more forward on their board, and the reason why is because otherwise it almost feels like your board is wheeling. So therefore, by standing forward, a 2+1 actually would feel better because now you're on the front fins. But at this height of 5'3", you know, you want to surf as far back as you can. I think this board, as Rob designed it, it's a great thruster. Now this is the second day, and I'm surfing this wave now as a traditional thruster with a raked back fin. And in the beginning, I started to surf it like I was surfing a 2+1. See, my foot's way forward on the tail pad on that last wave. And on this wave, the same thing. Yeah, I don't know if you could tell, but I am surfing the front half of the traction pad. But that's because I came off the 2+1 and I thought I figured out the board, but it's actually the fins that factored into how it was surfing. And I'm not exactly sure where I started to figure out what I was doing wrong. But the second I did, I think it was actually this wave, where I had my foot further back. I thought, wow, that one pump got me a little bit more projection. So I started moving my foot back. And right there, you just saw me just squirt water and move forward. And as they say, your most important turn is the bottom turn. So whether it's the small projection bottom turn or the deep bottom turn, if you kick out that back foot, you'll move forward on this board. And I came out of the water thinking to myself, I think I found my new favorite board. So guys, I highly recommend this board. Here I slowed it down and I thought you'd be able to see, but as I press, I don't know if you saw that little squirt of speed I got to kind of do a foam climb. That's how everything felt. And it just, it was really nimble because of the width of the board. Also, a factor was probably the V. The heavy V in the tail helps you go rail to rail. So when they say rail to rail, for me, it's like tic-tacking. It's how I start to generate speed and then I start to pump. So as I wrap up, just want to say that obviously you have to take everything in context. Think about your height, weight, your stance, very important. And remember, your mileage will vary based on the size of the board you decide to get. And my final point is that obviously in 2 days, it's really hard to assess, especially 2 days of bad surf, hard to assess whether a board is good or not. But given the bad surf and how much fun I had, I have to say that so far I love this board. And I will try to post more videos as I get the opportunity to surf it in better waves. And maybe I'll do a side-by-side same day surf, same wave surf with a Seaside. And again, I don't think they replace each other, but I think they complement each other with a good bit of overlap. So it might be kind of cool to have both boards and just have them in your car. Although that could get pretty pricey. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, comment. I'll try and get another board. I've been wanting to get another baked potato, but given that they came out with the new twice baked, that'll probably be my next board. Although it'll all depend on funds, and hopefully, fingers crossed, get some cash for Christmas. Have a good one, guys.